Alright, so today we are here to open up the door panel and do a swap out for the window regulator with motor. Now you can replace just the motor. That doesn't really seem to be the problem with this. I can hear it running, but to get the part that has the cable and the clamps and everything, it was just a better deal to go ahead and get the whole thing than to try to find that assembly separate from the motor. And honestly, it was just about the same price. So with this age of a vehicle, you know, taking it apart, doing everything, not switching out the motor, a lot of times, like I told you before when we got the headlights, we'll do 1aauto.com. These are sold in kits of both front passenger and driver side, because with regular use, they're going to probably wear out at about the same time. So if you were having somebody do this for you, it might be cost effective to have them swap both at the same time, or at least have that part on hand, because, you know, a failure at some point may happen. It may not, but, you know, it just depends on whether you want to have parts on your shelf or not. I had mentioned in a previous video that we got our part on eBay, and it was an auction that supported St. Jude, so I didn't really care that it was bid auction style instead of buy it now. And with eBay and free shipping and all that stuff, it still ended up cheaper than buying it from somebody else. So anyways, we're going to get into doing this repair. So this is what the whole assembly looks like out of the door. This is my brand new part. And these two screws, you need to loosen those up so that they're ready to receive the edge of the window. See, that opens up right there. I know you can't see probably so good. Okay, so I've already backed this out to have that open up on both sides, and this kind of helps you see, you know, kind of what tools you need. So I have a nut driver and a Phillips screwdriver. I've got a putty knife, I've got a pry bar. They make a special tool for popping open your door panel. Of course, you're going to need a nice cold beverage. So again, this is an 05 Buick LeSabre. This is very similar in a Century or a Regal, the Park Avenue. They're all very similar in their assembly. And it probably goes along other lines of other GM vehicles. And I know this can be a little hard with filming the black. A lot of these cars are all solid one color. The nice thing about this car is that it is two-tone, and it just makes it look like a newer car than it is. So we're gonna pop this cover off, and it's in a downward, you know, like out and up motion, because there's a little tab that locks down in here. We need to get the door courtesy light popped out also with a flathead screwdriver. So we're gonna start right on into that. Yeah. Okay, so right here, you want to pull kind of out and up, and I did this off camera because I have a phone and I don't have a stand to be able to hold it right now. So this is your little tab. I think it's really good to see how things go together. So if you were to pull, you know, backwards, it's going to come up, but that little lip right there, the way that that bends, just pull it out and up. There's nothing holding it on the top part. There's a plug right here that holds it into this little receiver hole here, so you might have to pry a little bit right in here, but you want to be careful not to scratch up your door, you know, in the painted areas and all that. So the next thing we're going to go after is this assembly right here, and you want to insert a screwdriver real carefully, or something with a straight edge here. And if you're not comfortable using a screwdriver, you can start it with maybe a stiff piece of plastic like a credit card to help ease it out, and then put the screwdriver behind it, because I really don't want to tear this vinyl. So screwdriver in sideways here, pull out without pulling too hard so that you don't snap it and break it, because right in here it's kind of thin, and in this section the rest of it's pretty heavy duty. So I just wanted to show you, this came out really easy. There's a tab right here, and it goes in this hole. So when you're prying, you're pulling that little spot out right here, and then with the handle, of course, it's going to slide forward, but just turn it towards you, and be real careful with these tabs, because you can snap them off because of the age of the vehicle, but you should be able to get a fingernail underneath there and disconnect that. Just be careful that it doesn't drop on the floor and get broken or smashed. And do this with two hands. So I'm going to put the phone down so that I can get that undone. Yeah, see, I've got some play in getting that off, but with the age of it, you don't want to be real aggressive with a thick, heavy screwdriver. Maybe something small. Again, if you need help with lifting the little corner edge, a hard plastic thing like a credit card will get it off. So this is the door lock switch right here. So we're just gonna get that off.
Are you ready?
I know. Okay, so that just pulled straight out. So you can see that's right in the middle. So those electrical pins just slide in right there. And the nice thing is they put little part numbers on all this so you can see when it was made. And okay, so now we're gonna work on this courtesy light or reflector. I don't know if it actually lights it all. That moved real easy. So I just popped that. All right, I don't want to snap it by snapping it in half. So I'm going to test my screwdriver on the other side. I can see there's a little tab right here. So I'm going to kind of go this way and see what happens. Okay, so very carefully, I just wiggled it until that came out. This has just a tab on the bottom on this side. It looks like there was one on the top, but it's not there. And it doesn't seem to be down in the door. It just came off really easy. So I think that was already gone. That maybe means that this has been worked on before. I don't know. So a good thing to do is, you know, keep a rag and clean things as you go, because you're getting into crevices that have not been cleaned and you can detail your car. Okay, so now inside the door here, we've got a Phillips screw head here inside where that reflector panel was. There actually wasn't a wire a courtesy light for it. It's just so that when your door is open, that people can see that your door is open and not smash you. And then there's another Phillips screw head right here. So we're going to take both of those out right now before moving on to the next step. Probably one of the hardest repairs most people will find with doing a job like this is actually opening up the door panel. So they actually make a door tool for about $22, and you can get it from different websites. I saw it on the 1A Auto website. None of my local like auto parts stores had it. And I've opened up the door on like my Suburban before and on our Chevy truck to switch out the door handle because you could not get out from the inside of the car. And I did it with a putty knife and just a pry tool. This is very similar to a flathead screwdriver. If you don't have either of these, just get a flathead screwdriver. But any kind of something like a putty knife will help you a lot. Now in this particular car, they've got plugs that hold this all in place, and there's 3 right along here. At the bottom, the top, and the center. So we're just going to kind of find that area and pry back. And again, I have to put the phone down. It's just how we're having to do this. It is not broken. Like I said, this is the hardest part for me because I'm always so afraid I'm going to break something. But just keep in mind, the car's already broke. Whatever you do to it, it's going to be repairable. And these little plastic plugs, like this one, they stock those at the car parts place, so you can get more if they're stripped. All right, I got the whole door panel off, and we've got a connector here. You can disconnect this to get it right up out of your way. I've just got to look at this a little bit. A little different. So this little connector here is a little something to deal with. It actually locks in place, and it looks like this is the switch for the control it's showing a locking mechanism here, and it's going all here to the mirror for the controls. But just right away, as soon as I popped that off, this bracket dropped down, and I could see that whatever it connected to right there, it snapped right off of its mounting. And I believe this has something to do with our glass panel. So the tricky thing about removing this is there is a push tab here and here that locks it in place. So if you pull those out, then you can rotate that lock. It just locks right in that little side slot there. So just make sure. This is the hardest part that I've seen on any video that I saw, is they didn't show how to disconnect things like the connectors. So you just pull that out on both sides and then rotate that. Again, another two-handed job, but you see how there's that little plug there that sticks into the end so that you can't turn it. It just makes sure that everything locks into place. So we've got this off, and the next things that you're going to be doing is taking this plastic off, and this is just like a car adhesive. If you have shoe goop, I've used that on our vehicles before also. It is real sticky, so it's going to go back up there. If you're not going to have this down for a week or a month or whatever to collect dust, it will go back up. But then there's the plastic plugs that hold it into the door also. It is really sticky stuff. Also, there's a plastic plug right here, and I've already pried that off just in preparation of getting this off so that I could show you the next couple of steps all at once. But you can start these. Like I said, I hate using screwdrivers. You start prying down here and you slip. I got a very small hairline scratch there. It's on the inside of the door. It's not gonna ever be seen by anybody, but I'll know it's there.
Oh, Mommy. Oh, Mommy, you are big. Oh, Mommy, you are... Oh, Mommy, you people.
Yeah.
Oh, Mommy, you action.
All right, so that's pretty well out of the way. I think that's probably good enough to get us where we need to see. Now, if the motor assembly is good, which is all right here, you can put it up with the assistance of another person or whatever you need by plugging the control panel back in so that you can get it up. Ours is down, and here's our glass. If it is disconnected or off the track, you may be able to just push it up by hand and have somebody help you, or use painter's tape to keep it up. So we're going to kind of see what our situation is here, and I'll get back with you in just a bit. Okay, so now we're getting into mystery and diagnostics. Well, we've got this part here that I don't know what it is, and like I said, it was on the outside of your rain or water repellent layer, so I'm not exactly sure where it's going to, and I can't find anywhere on the internet. We were wondering if the window is actually supposed to sit on that, but the new part doesn't have anything about this. It's just all of this. So we're going to do some more digging and get back to this, because obviously this is part of a problem one way or another. But as far as the window goes, I was able to push it up by hand this far, and it's right here. Because this is a new car purchase, the previous owner did tell me that the window was a little slow to go up. I started to roll the window down and noticed it wasn't going down, so I stopped right away and left it, and it was only down probably an inch. So we pushed it back up by hand. So diagnostic wise, I took everything off of the door panel. It was real easy, and I just brought it all over here because I don't have a second person to run anything from the driver's side, and if the driver's door was open, that is annoying because then you hear the key going ding ding. So listen, nothing there for upwards. So maybe the motor isn't good in it, but when I put it downwards, you hear a grinding noise. It sounds like dirt or glass is in there, but the window is fine. There's nothing going on there. And these pinchers here hold the glass so that it's not going to fall. So this is where it comes into hand that it might be good to have a second person, or maybe you can use a short 2x4 section to prop down into the door panel down here up to the top. This is also a really good time to see if the GM old boys left any cans in your door for you or any garbage. Well, we're at a funny point right now because we have to get to these two screws that I showed you before. There's one here and the other one is right about here right now. And you can't access it until you get it up here with the window all the way up. This center panel right here is blocking you from getting access to that. A really neat thing that I'm seeing about the car at this point, we have heavy steel posts right through here that protect you in a car crash. So that is really nice to see for the integrity of like strength and everything in the vehicle. And we've got insulation here. Okay, so I figured out about the mystery piece here. It was perplexing because I knew that it was going to be on the interior part of the door. And it only had 2 screws, but these extra holes. So I turned this the other way and I found it's like a rain drip edge or something, and maybe it helps to guide the window a little bit. So the screws were gone from the other areas. We'll just move the screws where the plastic tab broke off. Maybe that had something to do with somebody else previously prying the window up. I'm not real sure. But we have 4 good anchor holes here, here, and here that we'll still be able to use. So I'm just going to relocate that. Now, moving on back to this. So I did a little research. If I disconnect the motor, this should be able to move up and down easily on its own because the motor is acting up and not wanting to cooperate with me. This is as far as I've gotten. And so I went ahead and pre-loosened the one window stay on this side. We're going to disconnect the motor and see if we can push this up on its own. Then we're going to just use the same 10mm wrench here, here, and here to disconnect the motor. Then you just tip it sideways and turn it out. But hopefully with it disconnected from here, we'll be able to push this up easier. If you don't have another person to help you hold the window, you might want to use some strips of painter's tape to keep it in the up position, just so that it doesn't fall down on you. Okay, so even with that motor control disconnected right here, it does not want to go up. So I looked in there the best I could, and this is what I found out. There is a steel cable, and this is what they mean by when your window jumps its track. It's not actually setting on a track. It's setting on these window pinchers right here. And this cable is running your window up and down off of this motor. If it jumps the track, it's this cable on this plastic piece here or up here. So one way or another, it jumped its track there or where it wound on this reel here, just like a garage door. Each section of that has a groove to keep the cable where it needs to be so that it doesn't get twisted up. For whatever reason, it's all bound up right behind here, and I can't get that window to go up or down either way. We're going to have to reach behind the panel. It's, in our case, a 10mm nut with a Phillips head. So we're going to have to take our handy dandy old little wrenches and back there. Now, I will warn you that behind this area here, it's stamped steel. It will cut you. I got a little cut. Okay, the only way that window was going to go up was reaching behind there with a hand wrench to loosen that nut to stop the compression on the window, to push the window up all the way. And there was at one point where it was down lower, which I could have saw a lot easier what was going on. But I eventually got to it. I got some of my hair in the sticky trim stuff. It's okay. I went ahead and got some masking tape. It's all we had. All my painter tape is someplace else for a project. And I'm not running to the store with the door halfway tore apart. You gotta get by with what you have. You gotta be frugal and save money, and that's why we're doing this repair in the first place. It's worth it. So now with all of my nuts off down here, this kicked right out sideways, so now I'm just gonna go ahead and pull that out. So I've owned the car for about 2 weeks now, and we've started driving it. I took my first long drive 2 days ago. And I took my son with me, and he may have inadvertently hit the button to roll the window down, not knowing. And had to go for a long car ride again yesterday and come home after dark with the window down. So the kiddos in the back seat were a little chilled, and we were cranking the heat to make everybody comfortable. Now it takes some finagling and maneuvering, but you just carefully move this out. It is a bugger. There we go. The tension's all off it now. I can kind of get it where I want it. I don't know. It seems easier to move it out the back side of the door than the front. There's our culprit right there. Plastic piece. This is the part that feeds on the top. It's snapped right off. Could have put steel, but they chose plastic. See that? That was all the trouble. The plastic piece broke here. See this cable right here? This is supposed to go up over here. See the example?
Yeah.
Okay. So what has happened here, and I hope they have ordered me the right piece because this looks opposite of what it's supposed to be. I think they labeled it wrong. See that?
Yeah. For the other door.
Yeah. That's a doozy. Well, either way, this spring here is supposed to hold it, and it's all twisted off. So it bound up over here because this part up here was broken, so that it lost its guide at the very top of the roller. And the reason I wasn't hearing the motor running is because this is so bound up, it couldn't go anywhere. And this stamped metal, right about here, is probably what I cut my hand on. So be careful with that. Wear gloves if needed. Okay, so the repair is all done. I have to put the window back together. However, I'm going to share with you a bit of information. The replacement part that I noticed has a lot of play on the track right here, and I'm doing this one-handed, so it's kind of hard, but there is a good amount of wiggle here on this, and I didn't know if that had anything to do with the window not going up straight or the way I liked it. And I played with it for probably 15 or 20 minutes up and down, just trying to make any slight adjustment to make the window go either this way or this way on the track. Now it should just automatically line up on its own, but because of this play, it wasn't. And after about 3 or 4 times, I had noticed some discoloring here along this side track. So here's the thing that I noticed between the original and the replacement. 1 point of contact on the left side, 3 points of contact with the rail on the right hand side. So the bright white that I was seeing were actually stress cracks from that trying to go up in the way that it was supposed to, or maybe it was shipped that way. There again was some package damaging, but it was from this section here. So I'm inspecting this all. I asked for a replacement because no matter what I do, the original one that they had sent me. So now I am on my 3rd replacement for this repair job. The first one was wrong. They sent me a left-hand side instead of a right-hand side. This is from a different company that came through eBay. They seem to be just drop shipping it. The shipping label says order fulfillment department. It's not like from a private seller. So this is what has showed up now. And The packaging is slightly different. It has a GM stock number apparently, but this is not GM. And I can tell one thing from the original is that there is no play in this rail at all. And it's got much heavier duty contacts at the top and bottom, and a thin contact in the middle. And this is like an inch contact here, where this is maybe a 1/4 of an inch contact. So I'm kind of debating even putting it in at all. I'm about to just say the hell with it and go to the parts department at O'Reilly's or AutoZone or CarQuest and give them the 80 bucks, because the time that I have put into doing this, keeping an eye on these guys over here up and down, and getting this done, if I would have just gone and gotten the first original part in the first place, I'd be done with it. So I'm good at tinkering, I'm good at saving money, but sometimes it's a headache. So the better portion of the repair has been taking the window apart and putting it back together. Well, this one's lining up better than the last one, but that play is making a difference. Okay, so watch this little edge right here as I roll it up. See that gap? That should be going straight up, and it's correcting itself as it gets to the top, but as it's doing it, it's also, because it's not going up as it should, it's pinching this trim right here. You can see how that's pushed in. We had to run that replacement window for a couple of days while we were waiting for this window regulator, which is the exact same as the last one. So I thought, well, it's here, let's just go ahead and put it in and see what's going to happen with it before I make any phone calls on pricing. goes down fine. See right there? It is not sitting in that rubber trim, and then it's going to correct itself when it gets to the top. So as it's doing that, it's forcing itself in instead of staying within this rubber track and pushing it in, so it's catching that. Frustrating. It works, it's just not lining up, and I know no matter what I do to line it up, it's not going to go.